Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another discussion, another Minecraft discussion today. And we're going to talk about ACOA. I think this is number 10. Could be it. It's a nice place to wind up. As far as breaking the cycle. Breaking the cycle. So my name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am thrilled beyond imaginability to have this chat with you today on this very freezing. It's like -9, which in northern Vermont is like pretty normal, actually, but it's so crystal clear when it's like this. It's just the stars at night. Now it's like crystal-y all over. Looks like Frozen, only not animated. Anyway, it's gonna make sure I sing the theme song, Let It Go. Okay, which actually that works for what we're talking about here. So breaking the cycle. So first of all, we talked about how we ACOAs don't often, know what normal is. So we just have to kind of accept that, realize what is normal anyway. Like, do the normal police just come and decide what it is and what those rules are? Or is there like a normal judge wearing like this long black robe and dropping the hammer on what normal is? I don't think so. So from there, we just have to also, if you're a seasoned adult, you just create your own normal, and that's how that works. The following through on a project thing, we often didn't have that modeled for us. And again, this is not about blame. This is about describing and explaining, so you can do your own archaeological dig and then live the highest version of you. That is the point, not blaming. So, also disclaimer, remember this is not meant to replace professional treatment or anything like that. Information, though, this psychoeducation can really complement therapy, and also joining an ACOA group like I did back at St. Mike's. So the whole thing with procrastination, you have to figure out, are you really a procrastinator? Like your wiring wise? Like those of us in the Fast Mind Club, procrastination is super common. For me, ironically, out of all the symptoms you can have in the DSM book of labels, DSM 6, 7, I forget where we are now, DSM 5, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, the book of labels, this is the only one I don't have out of the inattentive type, the impulsive type, and the combined type, is that I am not a procrastinator. And ironically, I chalked that up to being the proud prodigy of 2 alcoholic parents, because I learned early on I had to get it done myself. And I think I mentioned, with our 5 kids, I would get them on the preschool list, early. I think I was even pregnant once and got them on the list, because this place was a really good spot, really good preschool, the young school in New Jersey. It was so good. Oh my God, it was so good. Anyway, so it might be that you were conditioned to, you didn't see how to get a handle on. First of all, ask yourself if the project is doable, because you want to set yourself up to a success. Is it a doable thing? And then also how to plan it out, like the beginning, the middle, the end, the steps. If there are any abstractions there, people with executive functioning issues, if that's ADHD or autism or whatever, that can be hard anyway. So a clear map may not have been modeled for you. So just because you can do that now, that's the beauty of being an adult. You can do that now. So that's great. You need to figure out if it's, like a wiring thing, or if it's just because you're conditioned. And then we have lying. A lot of us lied because it was easier. That's also one I don't have. I'm very anti-lying, and that could be because, I don't know. Lying and lazy, the 2 L's, I can't tolerate it. But remember that just like anything else, some of these will fit you and some won't, because just like being a neurotypical or having ADHD or autism or anxiety, depression, bipolar, whatever, it's going to look different on everybody because we're all snowflakes. Great analogy for today because it's so super crystally out there. It's so sparkly. Gotta sparkle. Okay, so the lying thing is habitual, and habits they're not made or broken, they shift. We talked about that. So we have to lean out of habits and lean into new ones. So if your lying habit has been going on for a really long time, just realize it's going to be a heavier lift. It can absolutely be done if you can sort of like reel in a trusted partner or sibling or a best friend or whatever to help you gently, kindly, with compassion, help you notice, because you may not even notice when you're saying, you crossed the street and you didn't, and the lie doesn't even matter, right? It can be helpful, and it's not to put the responsibility onto them, because it's your responsibility. Though to ask somebody to help you and be supportive of that is great. You can also have a lying jar. When the kids were little, we had a shut up jar, because I didn't allow those words in the house because they're kind of abrasive. If anybody said it in 1 1/4 or whatever, and if you stay lie free within like a 10% range maybe, because we don't want to look for perfect, get to keep the money at the end of the month and like spend it on whatever you want. But the main thing is awareness and to catch yourself. There I go again. Like, is this important? Do I need to lie? No. And then also don't beat yourself up, because shame makes most things worse. So the lying thing that you learned that when you were a kid wasn't your fault. Now that you're a seasoned grown-up, it is got to be accountable for that stuff. But don't shame yourself, because it came out of this place that you at one time did not have control of. So really the awareness is the big deal. And then just progress, not perfection, right? Okay, ACOA is judging ourselves without mercy. This is me. I was just so hard on myself just for a very, very, very long time. Just so critical. And think about that. It makes a whole lot of sense, because if we were hearing on a daily or mostly daily basis all the ways we didn't measure up, it makes great sense that we would learn to do that to ourselves. Like people say self-fulfilling prophecy. We talked about the confirmation bias, because it's a human thing, wiring wise, to seek out that which we believe to be true. So if we believe we're not smart, we believe whatever it is we were told, we believe that this was our fault, we were scapegoated, you just like learn and sort of, and then we start to do it to ourselves. We kind of prove to ourselves that we're not smart or not athletic or not whatever, outgoing enough or social, whatever, we're not helpful enough, whatever. And so really we need a reboot with that, and we can start with a whole lot of positive affirmations and fact check. It's the awareness thing is so important, because living deliberately is so important. Autopilot is bad, bad, bad. When we get on autopilot, this stuff in the vault is just has taken charge. It's kind of like parents leaving for the weekend and leaving the teenagers in the house. It's like, woohoo! So all that chaos just like surges up because it knows it can. There's nobody fact checking and reeling it in. So the limbic system and emotional headquarters is all in charge of that stuff. You got to re-engage your prefrontal cortex, which is the rational brain, fact check that stuff, and give yourself some new messages. It's a process. Is it that simple? Absolutely. Remember, it all is here in the cabeza. Thoughts we allow lead to our feelings. So we have to control that stuff. Did I say it's that easy? No, I did not. So simple, yes. Easy, no. Gets just like anything else. When we practice it, we get better at it, and it's less maintenance. ACOAs have difficulty having fun, and we're too serious. Yes, we can often have trouble having fun. We can often become kind of super mega responsible, or like mega irresponsible, depending on which way the wind was blowing in your house when you grew up. And we can take ourselves too seriously and take life too seriously. And here's the thing to remember, that it's never too late to have a happy childhood. It really isn't. If you never went to Disney World, save up and go to Disney World. If you want to go sledding in the backyard, go sledding in the backyard. Do all the things that you didn't get to do because things were just too intense. And remind you that it's okay to let your hair down and be goofy. And the reason, one of the main reasons that we have trouble having fun and letting our hair down is because that involves trust. And it's very difficult to get somebody to let their hair down and trust when they learn that trusting leads to pain, trusting leads to confusion because the messages were so inconsistent. So be kind and gentle with yourself, instead of saying, oh, there I go again, I can't even have fun at an amusement park. Instead of doing that, realize that, your inner child has got her guard up, or his or her or their guard up. And you can just wrap around yourself with compassion. Yes, my guard is up because I learned to not trust other people, and by not trusting other people, I learned not to trust myself. And I need to heal from that. I'm on the track with that. I am healing from that. Give yourself permission to not be okay yet with trusting. It's okay. It's coming. And that's also a good thing to say to yourself, by the way, because words matter, what we say to ourselves. Rather than say, I can't trust people, that's a horrible thing to say to yourself. Or I'm not good at trusting people. There I go again. I couldn't even trust that person. They were so trustworthy. No. What we say is, trust, it's on its way. I might be having a difficult time with trusting people right now, but trusting, the ability to trust is on its way. That is so important to say to yourself, because the word change is so powerful. It puts it out there to the universe, the higher power, God, whatever you want to say, that you are on your way with being able to trust, and you're getting better. Instead of I can't do it, I get, blah, blah, blah. Trust is on its way. And then, we often overreact when we perceive that's a very, that word is key. Perceive that, you know, the changes happening, whatever's going on, we don't have control over. And we might not have control over. We don't have control over a lot of things. And here's the thing, though. We often overreact because we are so, I guess, hypersensitive to not having control as kids. Because kids, even in loving families, we're not saying perfect because it doesn't exist, but loving families, kids don't have a whole lot of control, right? That's sort of the essence. You know, kids just don't have a lot of control. And if you're in a situation where you were dependent on sick people, because kids are dependent on their parents, right? And if you're dependent on sick people, this was like walking on quicksand, you know, walking on quicksand. And it makes great sense that you would get an anxiety rush when things are seeming out of control and there are big changes. Maybe big changes are also happening too fast. So that's another thing to do, is to realize it's okay that I'm feeling anxious right now. Wrap around yourself with, like a burrito, with compassion and self-love, and say, you know what? I'm feeling anxious right about here-ish, and that's okay. And what you can do is you can ask another trusted partner, best friend. Again, we're not putting the burden on them. It's also not a burden because you love yourself, and this is growth, not burden. But the responsibility, we're not putting the responsibility on them. We're asking, and we're still taking accountability. Though you can ask them, you know, just, you know, if you could whisper to me if you think I'm overreacting, and they can say no. You know, was my reaction appropriate to the level of, or was I at DEFCON 4 and this wasn't that big a deal? Okay, because that's very important, and realize compassion, again, is so important because you didn't learn this, and that's not your fault. We're not blaming people either because we're past that. You didn't have an environment where that was modeled for you. There's a lot of flying off the handle, especially if mom and dad, or mom and mom, or dad and dad, whoever were drunk. Or at my house, it was bad when they were drunk and bad when they were hungover. Well, I'm thinking of dad drunk and hungover. Just lots of overreacting and impulsive. Obviously the physical abuse too, but just the overreacting where something was this big, like you didn't wash the screens. I'm thinking, why do you wash screens anyway? The water goes right through. That's just my thinking. But often a lot of reacting, like really, here's crabbiness and here's like you know, at DEFCON 4 when it didn't have to be, kind of thing. And just maybe try to get some bearings, because maybe you don't have them right now, of what an appropriate reaction is, and try to learn to hit the pause button. Anybody watching this is like, really, Kim? Because learning to hit the pause button with my Fast Mind Club issues has been really hard for me. And I still keep working at it because I just want to jump in, not necessarily negative stuff, like I'm excited about a project. There I go, stacks of dishes everywhere, everything else I don't care about anymore, and I'm just writing my video because it's what I want to do right now. And so ask someone if your reaction is, if they thought that was appropriate or not. You know, and again, somebody safe is key, okay, because they have to have the compassion for you that you'd have for yourself, hopefully. And just get your bearings for that. And then the last one here is we often seek approval and affirmation, and that's because, again, it's the trust thing. It's very difficult, even when people start to encourage you, when you start to choose good people to be in your family and in your circle now that you have choice, voice and choice, and they're encouraging. Well, think about it. If somebody was really learned not to trust because it meant pain and it meant confusion and, again, unpredictability, and meant I'm going to get stung, right? It's very difficult to let that encouragement in. And the best thing to do is to have a conversation with yourself. I'm okay. If I'm not okay, that's also okay, because none of us are perfect. We're all on this path. All of us are on this path to become better people, to become our more authentic selves, a higher version of ourselves. And my pace doing that is absolutely fine. My pace, my own pace with becoming a better, higher version of myself is absolutely fine. And then give yourself permission to let that in as you can, and work. And we have to work at it. We have to, like, choose. Okay, breathe. I'm letting in the compliment. I'm going to really sit with that, because when we let in the goodness, this is how the brain, which loves patterns and loves to know what's going on, this lets your neurons know what good feels like. Because it may be that you didn't have a lot of compliments, you didn't have a lot of all the ways you did measure up, all the ways you met expectations and exceeded expectations. And so now you've got to kind of create your own blueprint as an adult, so that blueprint of goodness and positivity, so the neurons know, oh, here it comes again, another compliment. Okay, We just took in one of those. I know what that is. That felt great. Okay, open the door wide. Here we go, neurons. We know what that is now. Because we don't do anything without payoff. Nothing as human beings we do without payoff. And unfortunately, payoff doesn't always have to be good. Self-punishment is actually one of the biggest reinforcers there is. And if we were mistreated, maltreated, even abused as kids, we often became, I definitely did, I was set up for trauma bonding. We'll do another episode on that one. We often became comfortable with being mistreated, especially if those people are our parents. They're supposed to be protecting us and loving us unconditionally and all that. So there becomes like a kind of twisted connection there that we need to first become aware of and then shift out of. So that's really it. So breaking the cycle. And I can tell you, this was on my number one, I think, mission list as an adult, because when I married my wonderful, amazing husband and we wanted to have kids, I was just 200% sure I wanted to be the very, very best mother I could possibly be. And I didn't even say perfect to myself back then. I said best mother I can possibly be. To just love them, watch them grow, on a huge anti-shame campaign. So when it came to discipline, I did everything I could to watch my words. She's so careful with my words, and definitely no hittings. There are other ways to solve or redirect behavior than that. I'm also not blaming anybody anymore, because I think I told you about my dad, and he was hit too, and he didn't know it. I'm not giving him a pass either. But as we know, it's cyclic, so I just want to be clear that I'm not blaming, because that doesn't help me or him. I don't wish any bad on either one of my parents, none of that stuff. And that said, I did consciously choose to make changes. We don't punish physically, and we redirect behavior without shame to the best of our abilities. So that's what I wanted to say with that one. Breaking the cycle. Okay, you can do it. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the very freezing northern Vermont, my very nice kitchen. Have a mindful day.